Hello everyone and welcome to another video. A lot of people have been asking me in the comments about accent and accent improvement and what I do when I learn foreign languages to sound more like a native speaker when it comes to the accent. And they've been asking me to make a video about that. And I myself actually thought about this for quite some time. I thought I would make a video about accent improvement and such. The only problem is that I don't really know how to put into words what I do when I learn a foreign language when it comes to accent, because I never really thought about it too much. I do it automatically, and I just give it a little thought 5 minutes before I started making this video. So bear with me. It's probably going to be a rant more than coherent advice. And what I want to say is that I don't have a 100% native accent in most of the languages that I speak, and in those that I do, I usually learn those languages as a child. So what I want to say is that I don't want to put myself in the position of being the master of accents or anything like that. I just wanted to point this out before I start. And the second thing that I wanted to point out, that I'm just going to give you just tips, bits and pieces of tips here and there of what I do and what I think is important when it comes to acquiring a good accent in the foreign language that you're learning. So I think a very, very important thing when you're trying to speak well, as in when it comes to your accent and pronunciation in the foreign language, is to do a lot of listening, to have a lot of input of the language that you're learning. So, and by a lot, I mean really a lot. I would say hours every day, 2-3 hours every day for a long period of time. And the reason for that is that you need to consciously or subconsciously understand the sounds and the intonation patterns of the language that you're learning very well. And you need to get to a point when when you're going to have enough of listening done, so that somewhere in the back of your mind you're going to have this cloud of the correct sort of accent, when we're talking about accent now, in the back of your mind, somewhere over there, that you can relate to, right? This doesn't mean that you're going to automatically speak well just by listening to, Spanish radio for 5 hours a day, but you're consciously and subconsciously going to have a lot of information in your mind that will help you when trying to produce that accent. So number one, a lot of listening, a lot of input, and again, just hours and hours per day for a very, very long time. The second thing is intensive listening. Well, I call it intensive listening. I don't know if this is the term. And that would be not just listen to something and do something else while you're listening to it, but really intensively listen to native content and analyze it, sort of not really sound by sound, but try to really pay close attention to how people speak, right? So what kind of sounds they use, what are the intonation patterns that they use. Try to look for those patterns, try to see what repeats itself. I know it's hard, and from the beginning it's going to be very overwhelming, because when you start out learning a language, then it's just so much information, that it's very difficult to do something like this. But when you do it for long enough, these patterns are slowly going to start to emerge. The sounds that the alien sounds, let's call them like that, are going to be clearer to you, and it's going to be much better and easier for you to understand how these sounds are made, or what these sounds should sound like. And this is in turn going to help you when you produce these sounds. So number one, a lot of listening, a lot of input. Number two, a lot of intensive listening, so analyzing sounds, analyzing patterns, and so on. Number three, what I do personally is I try to talk to myself a lot and try to work on the sounds that I found difficult, right? And by working on these sounds, I mean try maybe dozens and hundreds of different positions of your lips, of your mouth, of they're called the speech organs. So dozens of different positions of your speech organs until you get that sound right. And now, of course, there is an element of doubt, like, am I getting this sound right? There's different ways of telling whether you actually do. One way is asking a native speaker, but you really need to find one that you can trust, that's going to be strict, but not too strict, just that good friend that is going to point out your mistakes, but not going to demotivate you too much by telling you that, oh, you're getting 99.9% correct, but still that 0.1% is wrong, and then he's going to insist that you get it absolutely right, which is not necessary. So just have a friend or someone who can point out your mistakes, but with, sensitively. I don't know how to say this in English, but just well enough. Or the other thing that you can do is just record yourself or listen to yourself. The best thing that I find is to listen to myself in the in the shower, when the shower is off, obviously, because there's a lot of echo and you can hear much more of what you're saying and how you're saying it. And just try to analyze, try to improve, compare your pronunciation to the pronunciation of the native speaker. And one thing that I found that was helping me a lot to realize whether this or that particular sound, whether I was pronouncing this or that particular sound correctly, was that when I was about to pronounce a new sound that was very, very difficult, one way that I knew that sound I was trying to pronounce I had pronounced correctly was that it just felt really good when I was pronouncing it. So for instance, the trill R, right? You just feel that it's good. I mean, it really feels good in your mouth when you pronounce it. It's not, you don't have to force yourself into it. It just really feels good when you pronounce it. No stress, nothing. And if you have to strain yourself to get that, to get that sound right, you're probably doing something wrong. Because, I mean, think about it. If the sound was so difficult to pronounce, no one would ever invent it in history. No one would speak like that, right? So this is the third thing. So just again, a lot of listening, a lot of intensive listening, and then a lot of sort of I would say testing or practice. And another thing that I try to do is sort of have an approach from I don't know what to call this actually. Just basically approach the whole accent thing as a whole, not really individual. Not approach it through individual sounds, but as a whole. Of course, I need to know the details, but when I actually speak, I try to basically. I think what I do is I try to imitate that correct model that I have in the back of my mind, which is there because I listen to the language so much, and because when you concentrate on individual sounds as you speak, on individual words as you speak, on the intonation of sentence patterns and entire sentences as you speak, it's too difficult. It's really too difficult to concentrate on all that, and you're going to get lost, and the effect is not going to be as good as if you are if you take one step back and just think about that, American friend that you have or Spanish friend that you have, and just try to speak as he does, comparing yourself instantly to that person as you speak. So that is another thing that I do, sort of like this global approach to accent instead of details. And the last thing that I do that I find very helpful is, which is sort of like a trigger to this imitation or to this global approach, is that there is this starting position in your mouth for every language, which is different. So for instance, English has a different starting resting position of your tongue, lips, whatever, and then there is a different position for each language. So for German people would have that resting position slightly different. Chinese people would have a slightly different resting position, and the reason for that is because that is I'm guessing, and I'm not an expert, is that is the closest position, or the central position, or the resting position is the closest position to all the other positions that you need to sort of get to get all the sounds that are in the language. And of course, this is different for every language. So what helps me is finding that position somehow, which is not easy, and just keep my speech organs, my tongue, my lips in that position. And somehow this, apart from it allowing me to speak, to get faster to all the other positions that I need to get to in that language in order to produce those sounds, what it somehow does, it triggers subconsciously that whole global accent, for me at least. So if I know that in Russian I have to raise my tongue slightly and push it forward in my hard palate, approaching my hard palate, because that's the resting position for Russian. And as I do that, somehow I trigger that entire global accent I don't know if this is something that only I have developed or this is something that people usually do, but it helps me a lot. It helps me a lot to keep that tongue in that resting position, and from there somehow the accent and the whole thing of sounding like a native speaker is easier to achieve. So I think I mentioned 5 things. So the first, just to recap, the first one was a lot of listening, a lot of intensive listening, like testing or trying to work on individual sounds to get the technique of individual sounds right. A global approach to accent. So I guess this could be called imitation of your friend or of something that, or of a person or of a way of speaking that you like. And the last one is this resting position of your tongue, which apart from making it easier for you to speak in the foreign language technically, it also gives you this, or at least gives me this trigger, subconscious trigger to imitate the language better. All right, I don't know how much this is going to help you. This is what I do, or at least this is what I think I'm doing. And of course, very important, you can't be shy. Like you have to throw yourself into it and be an actor a little bit. Try to imitate people and don't be shy and try to do your best. So hope you liked the video. If you like, leave a comment. Tell me what kind of video you would like me to do next. If you have any opinions or comments you would like to share, please do. Yeah, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.